Hello and welcome to World Business Report. I'm Alice Baxter. Now the summer holidays are over and once again decision time looms for the Eurozone. Chancellor Merkel is in Madrid today trying to gauge just how close Spain may be to needing a full bailout. Meanwhile, in Frankfurt, the European Central Bank holds a vital monthly meeting. Expectations have been riding high since ECB Chief Mario Draghi said he'd do whatever it takes to preserve the euro. Officials from the G20 group of nations will decide this week whether to call an emergency conference on food prices. The cost of corn, wheat and soya has soared over the last 4 months.
Welcome to BBC World News. I'm Komla Dumont.
And I'm Alice Baxter. Coming up later in World Business Report, time to deliver. Pressure mounts on the European Central Bank. Well, all this piles the pressure on Prime Minister Mario Monti, who's trying to bring the government's finances under control. So will they, won't they? Will Italy have to go for a full bailout? We heard on Friday from Prime Minister Rajoy that Spain's considering it. Has Italy moved its position at all?
And storm off and a half.
Another point that was made on this story by analysts that we were speaking to earlier this morning is how important today's announcement is for Mario Draghi himself, that this really is crucial for his reputation. Many analysts calling this the most exciting ECB market meeting to happen in a long time. Obviously, expectations running very high following Mario Draghi's comments last week, that subsequent rally on the market. Do you think that expectations have almost been ramped up too high?
Well, I certainly think there's a danger that some people...
OK, well, let's also pick through some of the other options open to the bank today. Another cut of interest rates, is that likely?
No, we don't think that.
So how concerned are Ford's management about the situation in Europe? Well, let's talk live now to Stephen Odell, European CEO of Ford. He joins me live from Amsterdam. Many thanks for being with us here. So how concerned is Ford about the state of the Eurozone? Are people there interested in buying cars at the moment? Manchester United is due to set the price for its shares later on Thursday. So that proposed price tag of $330 million, that will make it the most expensive sports franchise in the world, worth almost double that of Real Madrid. Is it worth that much?
Well, I don't think it is at the moment. No.
Should we talk about food prices? This is something you're following closely on World Business Reports.
Yeah, it is. The impact that the weather that we've seen over the course of the year, whether it's drought, whether it's tropical storm at the moment, the impact that it's having generally not only on markets, etc., but also on food prices. And here, the conclusion seems to be from The Guardian that we all might have to go vegetarian. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, this makes me laugh because I know...
It was a wonderfully theatrical performance, wasn't it? And they describe it as a sermon in The Independent. And it really was that, wasn't it?
It was. This is all drama. He's playing to the television. And
your boss, Richard Branson, has been quoted in the past as saying that BA has a monopoly on domestic flying ever since the takeover of BMI. So is that why Virgin's decided to suddenly foray into the domestic flying market?
Yes, that's the central point. I think
this isn't simply a response from Virgin to it losing the West Coast mainline franchise to First Group, which was announced last week.
No, this is about keeping a very important part of the UK.
My colleague Alice Baxter has been looking into the background of the story. Alice.
Yeah, that's right, Komla. Thanks. Shares in British banking group Standard Chartered are down sharply in Hong Kong trading, some 7.5% after accusations by New York's financial regulator that it illegally schemed with Iran to evade sanctions for nearly a decade. Actually, some bad economic data coming out of Singapore. Its economy actually shrank by 1.1% in the second quarter, and that actually came as a surprise to many analysts who had been expecting modest growth. And then
Mario Draghi at the centre of the spotlight today.
Yeah, the spotlight really is on him, as is his credibility. It's on the line. He came out over a month ago saying that he would do whatever it would take to save the euro. So the pressure is on for him to really reveal the fine detail of his bond purchasing scheme to lower the borrowing costs for Italy and Spain through these short-term bonds on the secondary market. Already, all the talk and rumour surrounding this impending announcement has actually had a hugely positive effect on their borrowing costs, lowering their bond yields. And of course, the fear is that if investors are not impressed with what they hear today, we could see a sell-off of Italian and Spanish debt. On the other side, of course, we have Germany's Bundesbank making its position clear that it's against this scheme, that it's not the role of the bank to support the buy-up of sovereign debt. So it's a very fine line that Draghi's having to walk today, which he will be very conscious of.
Just get the impression there's not a lot of balance here. there we are.
What is interesting is, as you were saying, Naga, and as you were saying, David, that this is an ongoing story, isn't it? All this negativity surrounding banks. And apparently, according to the Daily Telegraph, it's having an impact on their recruitment process, that banks are now having to pay more to attract top graduates. I find that difficult to believe somehow.
There is a stigma, there's no question of any doubt about it.
Looking at Iran and Iranian citizens as you're innocent until proven guilty, and I think that's where the problems occur.
Was it a surprise at all that 4 more European banks have come under this level of scrutiny?
It was actually a very big surprise.
Asked to expect them to be able to get out of this particular downturn.
Do you think it's make or break for Nokia on this?
Well,
Welcome to BBC World News. I'm Comrade Dumont.
And I'm Alice Baxter. Coming up later in World Business Report. Now, things were starting to look up, weren't they? The Eurozone's output stabilised in the first quarter, but a decline in the second now puts us firmly back on the course for a recession if output in the current third quarter also shrinks. So what do you think? Is recession likely?
Obviously, much worse than people had expected up to a couple of months ago.
And let's talk about the possible remedies. What actions can the ECB take come September? Or is this purely about confidence?
This is purely about confidence.
Well, we can actually talk live to Shilpa now, who's outside the Manasar plant for us. Shilpa, you were talking to us there earlier about dropping production levels, the fact that only a skeleton shift is going to be working at the plant today. But could you just remind us on the background of all of this? Why did the workers go on strike in the first place? Why the violence?
That police are actually still investigating the causes.
Well, as you say, America is still your biggest market, but Europe is second. And with US growth sluggish, parts of Europe teetering on recession, as we talk about day in, day out, are you happy with the way politicians on both sides of the Atlantic are working to try and boost the global economy?
You know, I think there's a limit to how much politicians can do. I mean,
and of course, markets have reacted positively to this news as well, haven't they? Shares in Qantas have jumped some 6%, I think. OK, for now, Rico, many thanks for the update from Singapore. Now, later today, Barack Obama will accept the Democratic presidential nomination and deliver his convention speech. He's narrowly ahead in the polls, but the economy is the top voter concern, and unemployment has been above some 8% for 42 months now. That's the longest since the end of World War II. I know, the rather unsavoury final story that we have this hour from the Mirror about the record amount of rainfall that we've had in the country. You know, it has been pretty grisly, hasn't it? Which has led to not only us all being pretty soggy all the time, but this invasion of giant slugs and snails.
They say that in London, you're never more than 4 feet away from a rat, although in the city, you're probably a lot closer than.
And many thanks to Ralph Silver for that. OK, that's all from me and from Comla. Do stay with us.